Hello, StarCraft fans. We are back with the final day of the round of 24. It's Group F. Once again, I am solo here. But next week or round of 16, whenever that starts, hopefully we're going to have somebody help me out. I know Eonzer is going to help me out with the Soul Key group. And then I have another guest for future rounds. But today it's going to be all right that I'm going solo because we've got Terran versus Protoss, two Terrans, two Protoss players, JYJ, Mind, Stork, and Free. And we're going to see if Protoss can get a few more players into the round of 16. We already have 7 Terran players qualified. If both of the Terran players make it out today, it would legitimately be more than 50% of the players are Terran, which is crazy. And the surprising thing is I do think these Terran players are likely to make it out. That guy right there, JYJ, former ASL champion, he's so good these days versus Protoss and versus Terran. Mind also very, very strong. In fact, we had JYJ facing off versus Mind in that ASL finals. It ended up being 4-1 for JYJ, so I think if there's going to be a rematch between them, I think it is going to be a little bit hard for Mind because JYJ looked so dominant in that particular series. I feel like he's kind of on another level over Mind. As far as the Protoss side, that guy right there, it's Free. I feel like we haven't seen him in a while, kind of like how we haven't seen YSC. We just saw him yesterday, but it had been a few seasons. Now Free's back. Again, I mentioned yesterday the last time we saw him, we had that epic game. Still can't remember the name of the map, man, but it was a blue map, 4-player map. Him versus Effort. It really did look like Free was going to win, but went split map and ended up losing in the end. And then our final Protoss, it is Stork. Now, when I woke up this morning, I actually went to Wikipedia and tried to look at match history between these players. To be fair, there wasn't very many games between all of them. I think the most overall was something like 8. Can't remember who it was versus who, but in general, Stork had the highest win rate versus everybody, which I found to be a little bit surprising because I think JYJ and Mind are the more active players these days. But I will say that the majority of the games did come from like 2018, 2019. So even though I think JYJ versus Stork, I think JYJ only had like a 17% win rate, which was insane to me. I think the majority of the losses actually came from, like 4 or 5 years ago. So I don't think you can really think too much about those stats. And because Team Liquid has been pretty accurate with the up and coming players, how strong they are last season. Sharp isn't necessarily up and coming, but I was not expecting him to be as strong as he was. And this season, also, they've been on the ball with their calls. I was trying to find some games of Stork from his Afrika channel, and he looked pretty good. When I think of Stork, I think of him playing the Reaver play and a 2-base carrier. But the majority of the games, I saw him playing the modern mass shuttles, mass storm. Still saw some carrier games here and there. When you get into Monty Hall, I saw some carrier games on that particular map. But in general, he seemed to be playing just the modern style. I'm curious how that will do versus someone like Mind and JYJ. I also did watch some games of JYJ. And what's funny about Terran versus Protoss is there seems to be this rotation where Protoss comes up with a certain strategy. Last season it was the mass gates. Terran counters with the 5-fact. And you know what the counter to the 5-fact is? The counter is the Arbiter. That's just the go-to build. So players start going Arbiters. Then, because they're going Arbiters, they go back into fast upgrades. Now that Terran's going fast upgrades, we're seeing players go into the shuttles. And then, probably we're going to go back into the mass gateway man. And I just feel like we're going to be on this never-ending rotation. But was funny about watching the JYJ games yesterday is despite seeing him playing versus Arbiters, he was still doing a lot of 5 and 6-fact timings. I saw a lot of games where he was just pushing through the center of Minstrel, getting a lot of good damage there. Saw him pushing when he got horizontal spawns on Radion. Uh, I wonder what Stork will come up with here because, in the past, a lot of his styles have been stuff like the two base Reaver into Stargates, and those just die to outright pushes. So hopefully, I see more of the shuttle play that I was watching on stream yesterday. I'm trying to figure out what the heck this stat says. It looks like it says something about a death group, but somebody's advancing 40. These four people could potentially advance for the 46th time. That's a lot. I don't know why this particular graphic is up here because, a lot of the groups always have like at least two or three star players. And I figure that those 2 to 3 star players have probably, made it out of the group 46 times in total also. So I'm not sure exactly what this graphic is really referencing here. Now, like I mentioned, I did watch a lot of games of JYJ and Stork last night, but I didn't see any games of Free. I had a tough time finding his Afrika channel. I also didn't watch any games of Mind, but I did watch a review of a certain game yesterday. Mind had some input on that game. In fact, he guided YSC's build, and so far, Mind's guidance this season has gone punished. All this help he's been giving these Protoss players have really backfired. And this graphic at the bottom, they're just talking about how this is a rematch of the ASL finals in season 15. So it hasn't really been that long. What's it been? 3 seasons? That's pretty much just like a year and a half, something like that. Sure, Mind is kind of hoping that he gets JYJ just so he can get some redemption, but probably at the same time probably wants to avoid JYJ simply because it was a 4-1. And like I said, those games were like clear dominance. It wasn't like, it was close and JYJ barely won. I mean, he was A moving in certain games. Like there was a huge supply discrepancy, especially on retro. I remember that game. I think JYJ did get build order wins a couple times, but at pro level, build order wins don't just necessarily outright win you the game, especially in Terran versus Terran. Looks like our player interviews are about to wrap up, so we'll be going into, I think the next graphic is going to be, the rundown of how the groups have gone. And reading chat, YSC's build was really good. I actually loved his build. In fact, if you were to replay that game, probably 100 times, he wins, I would say, at least 99 of them. At least. He may even 100. I mean, that's how much of a clear winning position he was in, but luck was not on his side. I mean, what what's funny about, the luck is in the beginning he had so much luck, right? Didn't get scouted twice. Just ran by that particular patch on the map. And you're like, wow, this is his day. And then you see that happen, and you're like, wow, this is so not his day. And then the game versus Shine in the losers match just did not go as planned. Okay, we've got some comments about Free being in good shape. I hope he is, because I do think JYJ and Mind in particular have some of the best Terran versus Protoss right now. Mind especially, for whatever reason, I just every time I think of Mind, I just always remember that ASL run he had the first time he came back, at least in my experience seeing him. He looked really unstoppable. Like his pushes were really, really good. I always remember the game on Sylphid. He literally just marched across the map unhindered, got to a third base, and just blew it up. And I'm like, wow, it's that easy, huh? You just get some tanks, some vultures, just attack, siege well, lay mines well. and you just win. I mean, that's what a lot of these high-level Terran players make TVP look like. We're getting a rundown of the groups. As I've stated, we've got the majority of the Terran players out. We've got a few Protoss players out, and we finally got a Zerg out yesterday with Jaedong taking down Shine twice to make it out. And today, with it being the final group and no Zergs, well, we're going to have to live with Hero, Sulky, and Jaedong trying to hold the torch for Team Zerg. JYJ versus Free first, mine versus Stork second. The top left graphic talking about the JYJ ASL finals where JYJ won 4-1. Top right graphic, season 15, JYJ lost to Stork 2-1. So, you know, season 15 is pretty recent. Season 17, Mind beat Stork 1-0. That may have been the Sylphid game that I was talking about. And then, bottom right, Season 2. Okay, now that's quite a long time. Stork beat Free 1-0. Well, even though I was talking about how strong JYJ's TVP was, it looks like his last 10 games only have 3 wins versus Protoss. And mine, as I was talking about, his TVT looks not as good as his other matchups. They're talking about how his TVT only has 2 wins in the last 10 games, whereas he's 6-4 in the last 10 games versus Protoss. Season or Stork graphic. Stork graphic is really rough. He had in season 15 he played JYJ, season 16 he played Bisu, season 17 he's played Hero. I mean, it's understandable to lose to those players. And I didn't actually see the last graphic for Free right there. We're getting a look at the stats. That is not the win rate I was expecting to see. 33% win rate versus Protoss. I guess that's what happens when you only have 3 wins out of your last 10 versus them in particular. If you were to go 50-50 right there, you know, if you were to go 50-50 on those last 10 games, the stats would have been closer to 50%, but we'll see if JYJ can turn it around in this group. His opponent, of course, is going to be Free. And Free has been well known as a really good PvTer basically his entire career. Only 47% win rate, but, you know, at the highest level, 47% win rate isn't that bad. Also, it's his 9th time into ASL, so he's, I guess, kind of one of those players that gets in every other season, something along those lines. Once again, it is going to be Dominator. Dominator is going to be the first map, you know, for every group. Of course, that's going to change in the round of 16, at least I hope so. We really do need to get some more Monty Hall games. Need to get some more Pantheon games. We have seen like 1 Pantheon game and 1 Monty Hall game, right? The game between C and Action. But those particular maps seem to be getting vetoed consistently. I don't know. I don't really understand the Pantheon veto. I think that's a good map. Monty Hall, you know, originally I thought that was going to be vetoed a lot, but when I did watch Pro League last night, actually I saw a lot of good games from Terran. I feel like that's a pretty hard Terran map, but they made it look pretty good for Terran. In fact, all the games that I watched, they ended up beating Protoss every single time. So maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me that doesn't like Monty Hall, but we are ready with game 1 as players get their headphones on. And here we go. So first game of the day, JYJ versus Free. As you can see, map is Dominator. Okay, here we go. In the top middle, or top left, we do have JYJ, and in the mid right, we do have Free. Now, so far in the ASL, and a lot of these games, we've seen some clever builds planned from the Protoss players. I think, is it really the only game that we just saw standard play was best versus speed on this map? And I think barracks versus, was it rain? No, not, was it rain? Can't remember who it was, but we have been seeing quite a few interesting plays from Protoss overall. Looking at the graphic at bottom right, we saw that it was just the last 3 results for JYJ and Free. Free made it in only 1 time out of the past 3, whereas JYJ, he won it, and then he got round of 8 and round of 16, if I read that correctly. We've got Pylon in the main, no fast scout, no forward gate, so not going to be a pressure build from Free, at least not just yet. I think we could see 12 Nexus here. We'll see if he queues up additional probes. Nope, already not going to be the case. It is just going to be a normal gate. No scout here either. Okay. A little bit interesting to not scout here, simply because it is, you know, a 3-player map. You have a 50-50 shot that you could find Terran first. You could gas steal them. It would have been likely that Free would have gone to bottom middle since it's an easier base to gas steal. So in this particular situation, probably wouldn't have found JYJ first. Now JYJ, this was a 12 gas, and as per usual, these Terran players are boosting like crazy. 136 gas for him. That's pretty much as fast as you can get this 12 gas. So his econ's really good. His boosting's really good, so his vulture is going to come out really, really quickly. And I actually do like JYJ spawns here. He's going to have, you know, good spawn position for going for drops into Free's base. It's very open at the top side. And when I did watch JYJ's games yesterday, whether it was Radeon or Pantheon or whatever map he was playing, even though he wasn't going for like 5-minute, 6-minute dropships, he did do a lot of 10-minute dropships, kind of like what we saw Speed do versus Best on this particular map. And if you're going to spawn like this, I think this is definitely a great map for dropships. So we may see some delayed drop play at some point in this game. We do have the first Zealot on the field. It is moving out. And, okay. I was going to say, I don't know how that Zealot knows that he's at top left, because Free didn't scout at all, but he's going to find him first. And behind this, just like what YSC wanted to do yesterday, Free's doing something similar, where he's putting a lot of pressure on with the early Zealot, with the Goon. But no second Zealot this time. Yesterday, YSC really wanted to shut down the ramp. But it's going to be just a single Zealot, single Goon this time. Nexus immediately comes down. Now, Free has a lot of gas. 300 gas already. He hasn't pulled off of gas. Okay, no range. For some reason, I thought he had already had range coming, so no range just yet. 4 Marines, 1 SCV. Protoss can win this fight if the SCV moves away like that. But with the additional Vulture coming out, okay, now it's not going to work. This Vulture is really fast for it being a 12 gas. Okay, well, Zealot says, that's nice, bro, but see you later. Goodbye, Vulture. Getting 2 Marines and the Vulture for just a single Zealot and half, well, maybe not half, 75% health Dragoon. I think that's pretty worth for Protoss, and the reason it's pretty worth, getting rid of the Vulture is a big deal. Terran really does rely on the mines, not for just connections, but also getting vision. Now you know that there's not going to be mines out on the map for a long time, because Terrans really do almost never build double Vulture. This may just be a tank follow-up. And in fact, because there's no upgrade on the factory, okay, well, now I see it. He did just get mines. There's no way he got siege. Oh, wait, was that a tank? Okay, he canceled it. Okay, he canceled it to get a second factory. Alright, I guess he feels like he softened up the Goon enough, and he kept, you know, a couple Marines alive that a push could be strong. He also kept the SCV alive in the main, so he saw the robo timing. The rush distance on Dominator is pretty close, so I could see this hitting before the Reaver gets out. Well, it's going to hit definitely before the Reaver gets out if he goes right now. But how strong is 1 tank, 3 Marines? I don't know about this particular move. I think he really needs to at least wait for 5 Marines. 2 tanks? Okay, I can get behind 2 tanks and rally Vultures. Now this will be strong. Oh wow, Free just barely misses. this incoming push. If he saw the push coming, may put down a battery or may rush the Reaver. And here we go, 2 tanks, 5 Marines, 2 SCVs. Now, I haven't played Dominator that many times, but on Gladiator, you didn't have a lot of terrain to build outside of your entrance. I think there is enough to get a bunker down, which is why he's bringing these 2 SCVs, but it is uphill. Oh, Free did not see it. He backs off instead of jumping on it. He actually targeted the hurt goon, so that's already gone, and Free is in trouble. This front 2 buildings, or front 3 buildings, they're all going to get taken down, I imagine. Another goon falls. It got focused down. And now the pylons are really backfiring because Free can't get, good shots out. No, that's going to bleed off also. What was that? That was a full health tank. Looks like it was a misclick. So he's lost 3 goons. Now he's down to 4. Terran doesn't even have siege mode and he's doing this much damage. Imagine once he gets siege mode. Well, getting rid of the pylon does open up, the bottom pathway, but another goon is basically dead. He loses 1 Marine. Okay, there's Siege. He's in massive trouble. He doesn't have a shuttle. He doesn't have a Zealot to soak up hits. He's going to try and suicide that 1 goon, but that's not going to work. This might already be over, man. Oh my gosh, so much damage. There's another goon. That goon right there is going to die. There's nothing in that shuttle. There's no Reaver. He's losing his natural. Okay, that was a good hole. The probes and the goons do clean up a lot of the vultures and the Marines, but still, there's so much. Did that connect? No, does not connect. The tank is so strong, doing so much damage. Man, I wish something was in that shuttle. He could have cleaned it up, but not just yet. Is that goon gonna fall? Okay, that goon does die, but these 3 goons are doing work. They are getting a lot of damage done. But, of course, Terran has lost a lot, or Protoss has lost a lot. Look at that micro. He wants that goon at the bottom right. No, another goon dies. And that goon right there is one-shottable. It goes down 2. JYJ is really making the maximum out of this attack. Oh, that's... Okay, I thought he was going to save that tank for a second. And that Vulture's still alive. 6 kills. Step in. Free doesn't realize that there's a Vulture there. 8. And he's in the main. And the Reaver's behind the mineral line. So getting more probe kills while the Reaver doesn't shoot. Oh, this is a disaster. Supplies were 58 to 58 a moment ago. Now it's 66 to 46. And that Reaver gets a hit also. Transfers the probes back into the Vultures. Not like this. The Vultures are endless. By the way, I am looking at the mini-map to see JYJ's base. I was like, wow, 4 Vultures came really quickly. And the reason 4 Vultures came really quickly is JYJ already has 4 factories. And the Reaver dies. That's got to be it, right? That's got to trigger the GG. You can't stop the Vultures at your natural. Yes, you have goons. You would assume they should be able to, but he's lost so much. And now the Reaver being gone, he can't even go for a counterattack. By the way, Free is out of gas. He's not mining gas anymore, so he can't even build Dragoons or Reavers. This is it. That was a crushing blow. And yeah, there's the 4 factories that I was talking about. Wow, that game got turned on its head real fast. I thought that the 5 goons on the high ground would hold the attack better than it did. I thought the 2 gate with the robo follow-up would, be enough to hold just 2 factories. But JYJ, killer move there, and he is primed to take this game. Free is gonna take another base. At this point, that's really your only option, right? You can't go into an all-in. You didn't mine any gas, so you can't go mass goon. You can't get, Citadel and try and rush like Arbiter or Templar or something along those lines. So what else can you do? You might as well use the resources you have, which are minerals, put it into a 3rd Nexus, pray that you can get maximum damage out of this Reaver, hold the line for, upwards of 5 minutes, and try and play for a late game. But this is a really uphill battle. JYJ already on 5 factories. He already has his armory spinning. He's clearing out the vision with his Goliath. There's not that many tanks because of how long JYJ went for vultures. But I don't think it really matters. Wow, that armory, that was even a rushed armory. Well, not necessarily a rushed armory, but a pretty fast armory plus 4 facts, and he still was able to produce so much stuff. Already has +1 done. And here we go. Yeah, can this be stopped? Free needs to get hits out in the center of the map. Okay, well, he's got, not like this, man. The shuttle's dead, and he focused down. Oh my gosh, look at the turnaround. JYJ, he crushed it this game. Those Reavers did the minimum damage, only getting 100 damage on the tanks, didn't even kill anything. Now Terran's slowly creeping. He's got 6 tanks now. He's got a 3rd command center coming up. There's only 6 gateways. This is definitely not enough to stop 5 fact. And what's even more punishing about Dominator compared to Gladiator is this feature right there, which is you can sit on this high ground and look in the main. And he's going to be able to kill a gateway, and that puts 3 on a clock. If you sit there, you lose your gates. So you can't do that. That's going to obligate him to attack. Well, I guess there was only 1 gateway in range, so maybe he won't attack just yet, but he is down 27 supply. He needs to get a shuttle out. That's the only way, is he needs to shuttle bomb these tanks, try and pray that he can get a huge mine connection. But there's no shuttle. I don't see one. I don't think he can go Reaver. It's too late for that. But Zealots could be, cost efficient here. Something to keep in mind also is he doesn't even have speed on the Zealots. So these Zealots are like dead weight. And Vultures get into the 3rd base again. He just taps out. Wow. Complete domination. And JYJ, easy victory for him. I do think that Free's build in general was pretty good. But instead of backing off like he did, he needed to pounce on that army immediately. I think he was probably looking at his main base. He saw units that were coming to him, and he was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not ready yet because, I was macroing, so I need to back off. And unfortunately, backing off lost him the high ground. He backed off into a position where he couldn't get out of his natural because of the pylon and observatory wall. And when you're in a situation like that, all you can really do is shuttle bomb to get out, but he didn't have any Zealots to shuttle bomb, right? This is the moment that I'm talking about. This particular high ground, I think he just wasn't looking. Like, he sees it coming. You can see there's no reaction initially, and by the time he reacts, one of the goons already dead. Oh, okay, well, that's another reason. He doesn't have range. Okay, so it all makes sense now. Is if JYJ had waited 10 seconds, maybe Free would have pounced on it, but without range, I mean, it's suicide, right? And now at this point, how do you engage? Terran's in the perfect position. They're going to get at least 2 pylons here and the observatory. I don't know what that move was. That was just a pure misclick. He's just taking so much damage. The vultures, they're getting full damage off on the shields. This was not great. Lost, 3 goons for that. Kills 1 tank. And there's the shuttle that I was talking about. He really needed to have that, a little bit earlier. And maybe, all the mines were set up right there, right? If he can unload Zealots, he probably could have blown up the entire army. But good timing from JYJ. He's at the perfect distance to engage the goons, and he gets an easy win in game 1. We're going to be going into a break, and then we've got Mine versus Stork up next. Right, we are back. We just saw JYJ get the victory versus Free. He's going to be in the winner's match, and Free, unfortunately, didn't have luck on his side. Range just a little bit too late. Bled off a couple goons, and he's going to be down in the loser's match. But now we've got another Terran versus Protoss coming up. We've got Mind versus Stork. And they're just promoting the new item that they have this season. It's a carry-on bag. And hopefully we get a better game this time around. Free kind of just lost too many units in the beginning and then obviously lost a million probes. You know, maybe if he didn't lose that many probes, it could have been okay if he had lost all those units. But to lose the probes also, what did he lose? Like 15 in total? Something crazy. Hopefully we get a better game between Mind and Stork. As I mentioned at the beginning of the cast, when I was looking at the history of the players among this group, it seemed like Stork had the highest win rate, but the majority of the games were from 2020, 2019, something along those lines. Mind, in the past few seasons of ASL, he's really done extremely well versus Protoss in particular, so I've got high hopes for him in this group. But Stork historically has been a Terran killer. Hopefully he can bring it today so that we can, eliminate one of these Terran players and bring the balance a little bit back. See that we've got Mind fans right there. Stork fan. Okay. There we go. I was looking at the chair. I'm like, dude, where are they? Are they gone? And this is Mind's statistics. As I stated, his TVP is really solid, and you can see it reflected in the stats. 55% win rate. He got runner-up in Season 15. 12 times he's made it into the ASL. And in those videos that Jinjin has been posted about the Motive and YSC games, Mind was the mastermind behind those builds. So he can definitely come up with clever strategies. I wonder if he has something special planned, for one of these games. We do get a look at Stork's win rate here. Basically, 45% win rate across the board. Still pretty freaking good. And you know what we haven't really been seeing this season? We haven't seen that many gasless expands from Terran, have we? I think we saw Barracks gasless expand, but I think that's it. I think the majority of the games have been 12 gas from Terran, not even 11 gas, which, last year I think we were seeing a lot of 11 gases to try and shut down 12 Nexus, but it seems like Terrans have been going back to 12 gas more often, which is what we just saw in the JYJ free game. Anyways, we are ready for game 2. Let's get into Stork versus Mind. And this time around, we've got spawns reversed. We've got Mind in the mid right and Stork in the top left. We just saw Free go for, the Zealot Goon combination. We saw YSC do something similar yesterday. I think we even saw Best go for the Zealot pressure on this map. So I assume that we're probably going to see the same thing, or something similar, I mean. We haven't seen that many gas steals, though. I wonder if Stork will try and go for that. And like I just mentioned, Mind, will he try and go for something like gasless here? Is that a viable build on a map like this? It seems like you could get punished really hard if you try and go for it. So we'll see what he comes up with. No fast scout for Stork. We're looking at the past 3 seasons for these players. Second place for Mind in season 15, then round of 16s, past 2 seasons, and then Stork Past 3 seasons, unable to make it past the round of 24. Maybe this is finally his time to get in there into the round of 16. Still no scouting at all. Okay, everything looks identical to what we just saw. Barracks coming down. Is mine going to go for an 11 gas? I think he queued up another SCV. Does look like it's going to be 12 gas once again. Okay, and there it is. Still no scouting. Interesting. Okay, there we go for mine. He's going to send it out. And he is going to get lucky and go to top middle. So he'll find him first. Trying to get a gauge on whether Stork is building a zealot or not. It doesn't look like it as he's sitting at similar supply to mine. Now he's going to go out for the scout. We're going to have an interception there. Pylon coming down at the natural also. I'm not sure exactly what this is for. Is he going to try and wall in like what Free did last game? That really did backfire. Definitely did not work out as Free intended. We're going to have the 228 factory for mines. Everything looks very normal to me. Still no zealot pressure. Alright, so we're finally getting some Protoss playing a little bit different here. That probe might win the battle, by the way. Nope, not willing to risk it. Got off some good damage, though. What's it at? 20 or 25 health now? That means that Marine... Okay, 20 health, so it's going to get 2-shotted. That means that mine needs to at least build 4 Marines if he doesn't want to build a bunker. Immediate range from Stork. I do not think that was a fake. And really, we're just waiting for expansions to come down and see what the follow-up is going to be. Because everything so far looks pretty normal. Yep, there's the 4th Marine, like I was stating. Because that Marine is so damaged, 3 Marines would not win the battle, so doesn't want to build the bunker, and instead we'll just get the 4 Marines out. Now with 4 Marines, Stork may read this as this guy's going to push. But I don't think this necessarily means that it's going to push. I think mine just wanted to make sure he survived. Coming in for another scout, he's going to get some good intel. Scouted the Nexus timing. Well, maybe not going to get the greatest intel as he completely misses the tech. We know that the robo just started, but for all mine knows, you know, it could be like Citadel, somewhere hidden. Could be a 3rd Nexus. That's not the case though. And this time around, the Vulture gets out. Doesn't get any intel really himself either, but at least it was not immediately taken out, so he'll most likely be able to get some mines down. Mine has enough money to put down a 2nd factory if he wants, but it hasn't started just yet, despite him having the money, so I'm gonna think that this may be a rushed armory. I think another Vulture came out, and if you're gonna build this amount of Vultures before a tank, you can't really do any pressure play. Well, as I say that, 2nd factory comes down. This is interesting. Not sure exactly what the 2nd factory is for because, you know, we really need tanks to be to have a strong push. But he's going to try and make something happen here with just 4 Marines and 2 Vultures. Hey, he got rid of a Vulture. That was really good. Now he's eliminated half of the mines. Mine didn't really get down many mines at all, so that was not great for him. He did keep the majority of his Marines alive. But like I was saying, when Stork sees that this is 2 Vultures, this really doesn't look like it's going to be for a push. I think that despite the 2nd factory coming down, this is probably going to be for tank Goliath and kind of just sit here. But I'm completely wrong because I still don't see the armory. I still don't see 2nd gas. Is this just a delayed push? There's no additional Marines being built. Is that a Reaver? That's a Pylon. Okay, I didn't see support bay anywhere. It is just 2-gate observer. Terran is going an interesting path. He's going to hook around to the left side, then come up towards the north. We've got 3 goons in the main. I really do think that those double vultures may be throwing Stork off, because, you know, you really don't go 2 vultures before your first tank. So he may be thinking that this is actually a drop. But now that the observer spots that there's nothing at the natural and tanks and vultures are being mixed in, he now knows that, okay, drop's not coming. He's going to send everything towards the natural now. And hopefully mine does not attack into this. I can't see this working. There's way too many Dragoons. There is a lot of support with the vultures and the marines, but this is high ground. And there's 9 goons out with observer, and he saw your army from a mile away. Well, there goes one of the vultures. There goes a second vulture at the top side of the mine. Okay, that was a really big connection, but he loses a tank. None of the goons have fallen, so he loses a tank, 3 or 4 vultures, and kills nothing. Does damage some Dragoons, but overall, really good defense from Stork, and manages to get all of his Dragoons back towards that pylon wall. No damage taken at all. Immediate third base. And now what do you do as mine? Because it's not like he was super committed to that attack, but you were definitely expecting to get something done. Whether you kill some probes or you kill, you know, a couple of Dragoons, something. But he got literally nothing. So his armory was massively late. His upgrades are going to be late. He lost a tank. This is a huge counterattack. Double goon dying right there. Maybe getting rid of these 2 goons will push us. Well, I don't think he's going to be pushed back at all. This is 10 goons, man, versus 2 tanks. Does he have siege? Okay, he does have siege. He may still just go for it. There's only 3 tanks. Okay, that was a really good positioning of the eBay. Oh, Stork may have overstepped here. Blows up the eBay. That tank's going to die. Both are going to die. This game might be over. 6 goons remain. That's the magic number to one-shot SCVs. Look how fast they die. Tons of damage. Okay, he's going to lose another goon, but it doesn't matter at this point. The damage was done. And behind this, he's not all in. He's got 3rd Nexus basically done. There's the shuttle. Remember, we didn't see support bait in the main, so I don't think that this is a Reaver, but if it is a Reaver, this could be lights out. I think this is just going to be Zealot Bomb. Show a Reaver, man. Blow that tank up. Oh, it is a Reaver. Okay, Reaver and Dragoon. And this may be game over. Really good micro on that tank, by the way. How is it still... What? How did it live? 2 HP on that tank. Well, it's going to get blown up now. But how did that tank at the top not die? It has 6 health. Maybe the goon missed the shot? Or maybe the micro backwards only did half damage? Ooh, scarab shot. Okay. Can he unload? I don't think he can unload here. I think the Reaver's a little bit too weak to unload, but he may try it. I think the smart move is just save the Reaver, let it regain the shields, and come back later. He could kill this turret, of course, but you know, it's not the biggest of deals, so let that survive. Alright, so mine technically holds, but he's super dead. 55 supply to 105. Behind this, Stork can do whatever he wants. Hopefully he just puts down the Citadel and floodgates, because there's no way in hell mine could ever hold this. But you know, Stork is a carrier guy. That's just what he does. If he puts down Stargates, there's still going to be no counter to that either. So you really can't go wrong. The only way you could go wrong is if we have a YSC moment where it's mass shuttles and the shuttles get taken down by turrets somehow. But Stork, he's not even going to go for that. He's got the Citadel coming. More gates coming down. He could put down the 4th Nexus. That's like the safe route. You know, if you somehow botch an attack, at least you're going to have big time money to fall back on. But really, he can just flood units and kill this guy. Triple Reaver, okay. Alright, there's the 4th Nexus. 5th back starting. Really not a lot of stuff for mine. He's got a lot of stuff in his main trying to defend the incoming drop. But with it being double shuttle, you know, everything might get blown up here. There's 2 Reavers in that shuttle. Let's see. Alright, well, shuttle have already taken a lot of damage. 4 Zealots here. He can get quadruple depot kill. Well, this hurts. as a Terran player, I almost hate this more than like killing my armory. Okay, he gets both of the Goliaths too. See ya, and we're out. This is not something you see every day. Watching a pro Terran get doubled in supply at the 11-minute mark. Just complete domination. Stork really showing why he's such a powerhouse in PvT. And all you can do as Mind is kind of all in. I don't think he can really try and play for late game because he's just going to get blown out of the water. I think you really got a 7-fact here. Try and make a timing. Like maybe you 7-fact and defend, and if you can have some clutch defense, immediately counter. But he's just down way too much supply. Vultures, they're going to find the angle here onto some of these probes. He's going to get 3 or 4. But the only way back into this game is if he gets like 30 probe kills. Getting 5, I mean, that's good, but you gotta remember, Preuss is already on 4 Nexus. If he queues up 1 worker from each base, he's basically gonna be back to his normal probe count. We've got the command center coming down, so he is gonna try and take a 3rd base. 6 factory coming down also, but how on earth do you hold this? More harassment, 2 more probes. Okay, this is good damage for 2 Vultures. He's got 8 probe kills overall. He has no mines. That observer is good. Reavers unload again. 3 tanks here. Okay, this is good defense for this drop. He's still gonna lose. Wow, he still loses 2 tanks despite having the good defense. And Stork is right outside his doorstep, man, and here we go. He's had enough of this game. I don't think he even knew that there's no mines, but now that he hasn't triggered any, he's just going to go for the throat, and this cannot be held. Way too many Zealots, way too many Dragoons. We're going to see the GG any moment now. Zealot's going to be running into the main in just a second. Good focus fire onto the Dragoons, but now Zealots on top of SCVs. Zealots are going to splash their own workers. Zealot bomb in here. Reaver still, double Reaver still alive. Hello, goodbye tanks. 7 kills on that Reaver, and I think a lot of them were tanks. GG comes out, and that was a massacre. That was Stork saying, get out of my game, mine. Don't even attempt that type of play that JYJ just tried. That means at least we're going to have a TVP in our winners match. We're going to avoid TVT for now. We're going to avoid PvP, and Stork, he looked really deadly on Dominator, so well done from him. And so far, the Team Liquid guy, he's on point with his calls. Every single player he said that has looked good before coming into the tournament has played exceptionally well. I don't think a single player has lost just yet. We're gonna go back to this moment. So this attack, to me, it just feels too slow. Like there's how many goons is this? This is 9 goons, right? You're attacking uphill. You only have 3 tanks. You have, what, 3 vultures also? It just doesn't seem to me like it's enough tanks to push through. Like if there were 5 tanks somehow, I think it could have worked. But with it only being 3, it just doesn't feel like it was fast enough. And after losing the tank and not having like any mines to delay the push, you can see the immediate counterattack. And also, by the way, losing all the vultures and the marines before he could get into position. Like if he could have gotten back to his natural into this particular position with the eBay blocking, I don't think Stork ever makes this move. I think he just backs off, accepts that, okay, wasn't able to kill anything. I'm just going to take a 3rd base. But once this happens, he had 38 workers. He started getting all of his workers one-shotted by those 6 goons. And I don't know how many SCVs he lost, but I'm going to guess something like 10. You know, it's just almost an unrecoverable position when Preuss goes immediate 3rd Nexus and you've lost so many workers. So well done from Stork. He capitalized on Mind overextending. And like I said, this sets us up for JYJ versus Stork. And JYJ, you know, he's already shown today that his TVP is looking very good. So I have high hopes for that series, especially since Stork just kind of obliterated Mind. Once again, because I am casting solo, I'm not even going to bother to try and fill all this dead time that we are waiting on. But I will just say, if you guys are liking the cast and you do enjoy the cast brought to you by StarCastTV, definitely consider becoming a Patreon supporter. We do have a Patreon page that you can sign up for. If you are unable to do so, at least just follow our channel on YouTube. It really does help the numbers and the algorithm. So definitely consider doing that. And I'm just going to put up the StarCast logo right now, and I'll see you guys back in a few minutes with JYJ versus Stork. All right, we are back. We got our winners match coming up, and look at this. We have a minstrel ban, a deja vu ban. Wow. Vetoing the standard map, and that gives us kickback. Have we seen many games on here? I remember seeing Rush versus Soxry that ended kind of abruptly, but I don't think we've seen a single Terran versus Protoss on here. Now, admittedly, I'm trying to think, yesterday, did I even see any kickback games? Most of the games that I have seen on kickback have been either Terran versus Zerg, where I think I had mentioned that Wraith play seems to be pretty strong there. I saw some Terran versus Terrans. It was, what was it, Sharp versus Rush yesterday in Pro League. But I don't remember seeing any TVPs. Now, you would think that this would be a good map for Protoss because they can get the fast 3 bases, and versus someone like Stork, who is really good with his micro, really good stalling the game so he can get out his carriers. I don't know if that's going to be a great build versus JYJ, because as you saw in the first game, JYJ just had a really solid timing, and people have talked about how optimized JYJ's builds are, that I think if he suspects that Stork will go carriers, I think he's just going to go for some really solid push and just overwhelm. So I hope to see not carriers this game, but you never know with Stork. Either way, our players are ready, so let's get into our winners match between JYJ and Stork. Okay, in the top left, we do have JYJ, and in the bottom right, we do have Stork. Coming into today's game, since I knew I was going to be solo casting, I was a little worried that these games were going to be exceptionally long. Terran versus Protoss, in general, seems to be getting longer and longer these days because both players have gotten really good at defense. A lot of the times you see games of upwards of like 20, 25 minutes. Terrans really camp for a while their upgrades kick in. Same thing with TVT. We all know about the legendary 1-hour split map TVTs. But so far, games have been really short. Somebody gets a big lead with an initial attack and follows up with a game-ending attack. Now, kickback, we'll see how long this game lasts. I wonder if I've actually jinxed myself with that statement. Kickback, you can go for the 12 Nexus very easily, but I feel like that's kind of an obvious opener. So maybe Stork will just open kind of normal here, play it safe. There's no movement from the SCV, so there's no BBS this game, and Stork is going to play it safe. There's the gateway in the main. JYJ fans right there. I guess that's Stork. Actually I thought JYJ was going to 14cc if he didn't BBS, but not going to be the case. It is going to be probably gasless. I don't see him putting down gas in his main. And JYJ, as I stated in the first game, he's good at optimizing. So this will be a gasless expand, and Stork actually has gone into gas. Okay. So he's going to try and put some pressure onto JYJ. Both players get their workers intercepted, so they are going to find each other relatively quickly. No Zealot this game for Stork. Once again, there's I was going to say the wall, but it's not really a wall. This is kind of an interesting depot placement. I am guessing he's going to put his bunker in front of the depot? Not too sure. Well, if you put it behind the depot, obviously the depot can get picked off, but okay, Pro gets in. We'll get in and see that it is a gasless expand. What I did want to say before we get too far into it is, with gasless expand, normally you have your natural SCVs repair the bunker. And that probe got moving shotted? You don't see that often. How's that taste, Protoss? How do you like the SCV moving shot? Able to kill that probe. But what I was going to say about gasless expand is, if Stork had gone for something like a 2-gate, JYJ would have to, you know, pull a lot of SCVs all the way from his main to repair that bunker. You know, if he ever miscalculated how many he needs, his bunker would probably die. But we know that that's not happening as Stork puts down a fast Nexus. I think it's even before his range. Now JYJ going to put down his bunker. So a slow bunker with gasless versus a Protoss. Protoss's build is fine, but it's not as fast as Terran's fast CC, obviously. This really feels like a good opener for JYJ, in my opinion. Now, what's the follow-up going to be? That SCV is in a position where I think he could build like a starport at bottom left. And I did see in one of the games that I watched last night on Radeon in particular, JYJ did go for a proxy starport in that game. So I think this could be a starport follow-up, but it's kind of hard to make starport follow-ups work with gasless because of how late the factory and the starport is. But we'll see if that is what that SCV is going to actually do. Robotics is basically, that's a fast robotics. That was like a 430 robotics. So already finishing. JYJ, okay, he's still moving that SCV, so it's not going to be a starport. He's just going to come in for another scout. Second factory coming down. eBay coming down. You know, the common follow-up to going gasless expand is actually going into Academy. But he's going to go into an eBay here. I guess he thinks that the Reaver may be faster than usual and he just wants to have a good turret ring. Obviously, you're going to have a low unit count with a gasless expand in the initial stages. So probably just doesn't want to get caught off guard. Also, with it being kickback, I mean, he's got to cover a lot of ground with his, like, let's say he went Goliath. He would have to have Goliath in a lot of positions to defend. So I think the eBay opener is a smart move. And Stork is positioning like he's going to put down another Nexus. So it could be fast 3 Nexus for him. Trying to get a read on what the follow-up is going to be for JYJ. We know it's a 2-fact at least, but is he rushing Armory behind it? I don't think he is, because he kind of took his natural gas a little later than I was expecting. I think this could be just a factory flood. Alright, well, double add-on with 2 tanks already done. Alright, well, this is going to be a push, I imagine. A 4-tank push. Stork really needs to see this. Hopefully he doesn't run into that turret that I think is just now building. Okay, he's not going to. But he needs to see how many tanks are already out. The turrets are in really nice positions. Yeah, I knew it was going to be a factory flood. So 6 minutes, 15 seconds, 3rd and 4th factory coming down. This is incredibly fast. And he's not going to get in. These are well positioned here. If he tries and gets past this factory, it's going to die. But I think he needs to. Oh, he saw it. He saw the 3rd factory. Okay, he's got all the intel he needs. There's no 3 factory build for Terran. Terran, that's not a thing. So, despite seeing it though, didn't Stork just put down a Nexus? Okay, no, he didn't. He had already had it built, but this is a good follow-up. 3rd and 4th gateway coming down immediately. He needs to get Reaver out ASAP. Maybe get a Citadel? He doesn't know this, but Terran does not have an academy. So there's no comsats, at least not just yet. But he needs to get, I would say, at least to 6 gate. I think 4 factory can beat 4 gate. Maybe not 4 gate with a Reaver, but to be on the safe side, get at least the 5th and 6th gate here. JYJ is on the move. 6 tanks, 4 vultures, decent amount of marines. What is it, 3 or 2? And he's got the Reaver out. Okay, so Stork has got what he needs to buy time. And JYJ, is he going to get in here and see the gateways? No, he's not. And the Reaver needs to get off some big shots. There's no Goliath with this army because his armory was... I don't even know if he started an armory. Okay, but he's just going to slow push. Well, JYJ, you know, he hasn't lost a lot of ultras, but is bleeding off some. And Stork is going to loop around and probably try and cut off reinforcements. I think this is a smart move. You know, the Reaver can buy time while your goons are across the map to try and, you know, pick off reinforcements. Right, there we go. There's the loop around. There's not that many tanks. I mean, there's 6, but there hasn't been any additional tanks, right? Well, now JYJ's pushing a bit quickly, but he's way too far forward. There's no tanks behind this, like in siege range, I mean. That Reaver got off a nice volley, almost takes down that tank. Doesn't get it, though. But those are 2 heavily damaged tanks. He can get both. He got both. There we go. Oh, gets like 3 or 4 vultures. I think Stork's already done it, man. These goons are sitting directly outside of the main. You're not reinforcing anymore, man. You're going to get immediately killed. So this push was denied, and JYJ, he is in trouble. He did have a gasless opener, so he does have big econ. I think it's playable. I think for sure that he can play out of it. But you don't know how many SCVs he actually cut for this. We can see that supplies are gapping up heavily in favor of Stork, and with his third base already done and, you know, fully kicking in, what can JYJ do behind this? He's putting down a 5th factory, but by the time that completes and, you know, he's ready to go for another attack, probably Stork's going to be near max. So I don't know about this. And, you know, the dilemma is if JYJ expands, of course, Protoss is going to see it and just, you know, take full advantage of all the econ that Protoss already has and, you know, maybe just go immediate carriers. Now, Reaver, this is just going to be, it's not a base trade, but JYJ is not going to be able to stop these Reavers. In fact, I don't even know if he knows that they're here. Oh, good micro right there. Goodbye vultures, and there are no tanks here, so the Reavers are going to kill the turret. Reaver's going to get rid of the mines, and I think we are moments away from seeing JYJ tap out of this game. 14 kills on that Reaver. There's a 15th. JYJ has to win with this attack. It's not enough to just kill the army. He's got to actually win the game with it, and we know that's just not going to happen. Oh, speed is already kicked in. No vulture support. See you later, JYJ. Stork, he brought it today, man. He's going to get out 2-0. This was domination on the Dominator game. Complete domination on this game. Perfect counterplay. And Team Liquid guy, he's on point. You know, it's always nice to see your predictions come to fruition. You know, you watch these players play Pro League and you're like, damn, they're playing so well today. I hope that they can actually, you know, get their results that I'm seeing in Pro League here in ASL. And so far, all 3 predictions, what was it, Speed? He did really well. Stork has done really well. I can't remember who the 3rd prediction was, but I know that the 3rd guy that was predicted also did really well. And Stork has got to be feeling really happy about this because the past 3 seasons, unable to make it into the round of 16, and he made it look easy this time around. Now, JYJ, of course, not out of it. He'll be sitting in the deciders match, but I mean, this was clearly a blowout. His timing attack did not work. We're getting a look at the end of the game. I don't really think this was, you know, the difference maker in the game. I think the difference maker was those big Reaver shots outside of the natural where he killed multiple vultures, you know, softened up those tanks and then finished them off. But obviously this outright ended the game when the Reavers got like 20 kills combined. Well, JYJ's worker count was actually not bad. Like factoring in all those SCVs that he had already lost, he's still at 40, right? So even though I thought he was more all in, he may have been able to actually try and transition if he could have gotten his 3rd base instead of going for this counterattack. But that's just in retrospect, right? You know, JYJ doesn't know exactly what his worker count was, but he probably felt that he had a decent econ. none of that matters as Stork moves on, so congrats to him. We still have Mind versus Free in the losers match waiting. That game of Mind versus Stork did not really go according to plan. Likewise, the game of Free versus JYJ didn't go according to plan. And I wonder if Mind and JYJ, if they do get some TVPs again, will they try and make an early game push work? Because Stork really stuffed it really easily in both of his games. Of course, Free struggled with the defense, but I think that was more just Free not being decisive with what he wanted to do, and I'm sure he'll fix that for our next game. And since we do have another TVP in the bottom side, I do wonder if Kickback will get into the or will get selected again. I was really surprised that Deja Vu got banned from Stork. I do like I was mentioning, I do feel like Protoss is probably strong on Kickback, but I also think that Terran is really strong on Kickback also because of what JYJ showed. You can get a fast command center pretty quickly. Terran's on 3 bases. I mean, anybody that's played versus Terran knows that Terran's on 3 bases. They can go for like 30 minutes. Like, that's how strong they are. So I was a little surprised that nobody vetoed Kickback. And I wonder if it will get through once again. Yeah, as chat mentioned, obviously camping the goons outside of the natural was really good. Preventing reinforcements was key there. Well, I mean, he probably didn't even need to do that because he'd already killed so many vultures, but obviously the prevention just solidified like, hey, this is all you're going to get. So you need to really micro them very well, or what you have very well, and he was just unable to do so. I don't even think it would have worked because Stork, with the observer getting in and spotting the third factory, he had the perfect response, which was all the gates. He went Forge and Citadel immediately as a follow-up, so he had speed relatively quickly. He had Forge for +1. So even if Stork hadn't like completely outright stopped that attack, he would have still had a really good early or mid game because Terran was, going to be really lacking on the upgrades. And that gives us our 5th Protoss. So we've done it, chat. We've made sure that one of these Terrans don't make it out. Loading up Team Liquid here to see if there's any comments on the game or thoughts on Stork's victory. Oh yeah, somebody did point out Bisu, Stork, and Jaedong in the round of 16. It's the first time in quite a while. I think that's true. We're just missing Flash, man. We're just missing Flash to have the legendary 4 all into the round of 16. I think I remember Jinjin posting that Flash. Okay, I don't want to put words in Jinjin's mouth, but I thought I had read that Flash may be coming back sometime soon. But don't quote me on that. Hopefully next season he'll end up playing because, I was a little surprised that Flash didn't even attempt to play this season. What's the point of playing on ladder and, practicing with all the pros if you're not going to try and qualify for ASL? Maybe he felt like he wasn't at the level he wanted to be before attempting to make it in. I say attempting in air quotes because everybody knows he would have made it in, but maybe just for whatever reason, he wanted to be at a little higher level before he makes his return. Signs that says that Stork's a god, and he definitely did play like a god today. He really just owned these Terrans with their early game play and just transitioned in the mid game really well. I'm sure he's very happy about his wins, and he's got a lot to say, man. Like, he just keeps going. Looks like he's finally wrapping it up here. And we're going to be going into our break, and then we'll be back with our losers match, which of course will be Mind facing off versus Free. And we are back. That is much faster than I was expecting. And look at this. Once again, we've got minstrel bans. No deja vu ban, but kickback. It gets through. So we're going to see back-to-back TVPs on kickback. We'll see if Mine wants to do the same thing that JYJ wanted to do. Both players have been aggressive in the early stages. And I wonder if Free will try and go for a 12 Nexus here. It's obviously very strong. Hope one of the Terrans at some point BBS's. But, you know, this is your tournament life. It is a best of one. So do you really want to BBS in a best of one? Not too sure about that. But like I was saying earlier, Mind was helping out these Protoss players, you know, Motive and YSC come up with their crazy builds. So if there's anyone that could come up with a crazy build for Terran, you know, he's probably the guy for it. So maybe he'll be willing to risk it for the BBS. But we are ready. So let's get into our losers match. Somebody's going to be knocked out here. Is it going to be Mind? Or is it going to be Free? Oh, did not mean to do that. Okay, in the top left, we do have Mind. And in the top right, we do have Free. So horizontal spawns. So I have played a couple games on Kickback, and in my experience, rush distances feel really close. I don't know what the actual rush distances, what rush timings are, but they really did feel like they were pretty quick. So when we see that, or when Terran sees that Protoss is horizontal, that may trigger him to go for a timing. Once again, we've got a lot of foreign fans in the audience. More Mind fans right there. Uh-oh, SCV going out? No, it's just for that depot again. Okay. So both players, both JYJ and Mind, both put their depot right next to that mineral. That's interesting to me. You know, it is a slight delay on your 11th SCV because you're going to be supply blocked. So I'm curious what the actual reasoning for putting the depot like that actually is. Okay. Is that going to be a full wall? 11 gas for Mind. Okay, so he's doing some type of early factory. Not going to be gasless this time. I don't think a depot completes the full wall there. And Free, he's going to get a little unlucky here. He's going to go vertical. That means he's most likely going to find him last. Meanwhile, Mind, what direction is he going to go? He is going to go horizontal, and he's going to find Free first. And this time around, it's not going to be any early zealots for Free. There's the factory for Mind. Is he going to really complete? Wow. That's one of the few times that I've seen Terran players complete the wall. Now, this is a Mind game. Behind this, Mind has pulled off of gas. And his factory is far enough away from the depot so that Free can't see it. That means that Free's going to have to try and make a determination. What is this? Is this gasless? Is this factory? Did you actually go command center first? I actually think Free should have gone in there, because if he could have seen that it's a factory and seen that, you know, it's not gasless and potentially get a read on the gas, you know, he could confirm that it's also not a 2-fact. Now Free, he's going for it, man. Got scouted, but he's still going to go for fast Citadel. There's the command center. And I don't know what to think about this for Free, because this to me looks like it's going to... Well, actually, I think this is a good counter. The reason I say this is normally when Terrans go this particular opener, they rush Mines. But you know what the subtle difference here is? The difference is Terran is walled in, which means they can't get the Vulture out. So that means that this has to be a tank. So if it's going to be a tank, you know what's not on the field? There's no Mines. So that means there's going to be almost no chance of the DT just running across the map to its death. So I actually love this. Now it all comes down to, of course, Mines eBay time. If he can get the eBay down, it's obviously going to be hard to blast your way through the depots. But the idea here with Free going immediate DT, I love it. And this wall is going to backfire on Mind. I think it will. Regardless, though, Free's not all in with this. He does have his Nexus coming down. But it is imperative that he kills this SCV. If the SCV gets in, then Mind is going to have all his SCVs up against the depot to repair the depot. And the DT, I don't think, will make it in. This is for Siege, man. He's going Siege expand into double command center. But the SCV does not commit. Mine should know something's up, because that goon did not have range. So if the goon doesn't have range, where the hell is your money going into? It can only be one of two things. It's either you're going fast Reaver, or you're going DT. I guess technically you could have skipped it to go a Nexus. It is kickback in that sense. But, well, I don't think this is going to work anymore because, unfortunately, he's attacking with one DT. He needed to have two, man. This depot is going to get repaired, isn't it? There's not enough DPS. I can't even tell you how disappointed I am right now. If this was two DTs, he would have walked in and won the game. But instead, it's just going to get repaired. I mean, obviously Free's still in a fine position, but now he's given away his tech. And now Terran has a 3-base opener versus Fast Arbiter, which is the dream. This is what you want as Terran. If I can get 3 bases for free while you're going Arbiters, I feel fantastic. All mine has to do now is, 1, get Academy, scan to see, you know, that it's not DT drop, and 2, just macro like a god, get his upgrades. That's it. And he's going to be in a really fantastic position. Of course, Arbiter is an incredible late game unit, but now Free is not going to be playing for mid game. He's going to be playing for, you know, having 4 Arbiters, you know, something along those lines where he can just mass stasis everything. There's no longer a bust potential anymore. Terran is just going to have too much econ. You know, they're going to max out so quickly. I guess recall is possible. You know, we had seen, what was it, like the 9-minute recall a few years ago. So recall is still going to be dangerous, but I still really like mine's position here. I mean, it's just 3 bases is so incredible for Terran. There's a 3rd factory. Now, even though we haven't gotten a look at mine's buildings at the top left of his base, I think he should have his armory started by now. I see that the starport has started, and he's getting the add-on, so it's going to be for a drop. There's the academy. Does he really not have an armory? Okay, there it is. I was like, wait a minute. No armory with 3 bases this quickly? So 6 gates as the follow-up. Probably going to go into upwards of 8. Maybe more, maybe 10. Free still on 2 bases though. This does make me worried that this is just going to be, you know, trying to max out as fast as possible and get as much stuff in with the recall. Mine has had his 3rd base up for what, like 3 minutes now? So his econ's crazy. Even though he's still down supply, I don't think he's going to be down supply for much longer. There's the first Arbiter. So Arbiter takes 2 minutes to get the 100 energy. That means that we're going to be looking at a 10-minute recall. Now he scans the main and he sees that, hey, it's an Arbiter play, but he doesn't know that the Arbiter's actually already out. So he may be thinking that it's still in production. So there is a world where there's not enough turrets in position for this. Here comes the drop. Gonna get spotted immediately though. And when mine gets in here and sees that, dude, you didn't even start your Nexus. Yeah, he scanned the Arbiter also. So now he knows, okay, this guy went 1 base DT into Rush Arbiter. Now I just need to sit back and get turrets and mine set up everywhere. And he has about a minute longer to get all of his defense set up. If I was free after I got scanned, well, actually, I don't know what I would do as Free, because thinking back to what Free sees, Free doesn't have an observer, right? He doesn't know that Mind immediately double expanded, but in theory, you would expect probably Mind double expanded behind this, and now that you've gotten your Arbiter scanned this quickly, is Recall really going to work anymore? I think now the best course of action for Free is to just go into the critical mass Arbiters, which in my opinion is 4, and wait for Terran to move out and just mass stasis them. Yeah, you're starting to see why Mine's build is so good. He's up 10 supply in a Terran versus Protoss. What? Nothing even happened this game, and he's up supply. So that tells you how ridiculous this 3-base opener is. He's also got upgrades behind it. It's not like he went 8 fact with no upgrades. He's got his starport. He's got his armory still spinning. He already has +1. He's got a vessel. He's got EMP. He's got literally everything he needs. All he needs now is to wait for +2 to kick in, get his tanks up to critical mass, and try and go for a death push. And free, he's going to take mid-right as his 4th base instead of another main. He should have 2 arbors out by now. Hopefully he can get a 3rd one out. I think if he can get the 3rd one out so that he can have at least 4 stasises, he'll be in a pretty good position. He'll be able to stasis a lot of the army. But of course it does come down to the engagement and whether he gets EMP'd. And Terran is setting up like, Terran doesn't want to attack. Is he going to take mid-left himself? Is he going to go 4 base versus 4 base? Like that's going to be the play as he's getting into position. He's building turrets everywhere. Gonna just try and take mid-left. Now, taking the 4th base in theory, I do like it, but it does, you know, kind of make your defense pretty thin. It is kickback where there's a lot of terrain on this map. It's not very easy to get back to defend. So if he recalls, like, let's say mid-left, right? Even though everything is, you know, kind of near mid-left, he's going to have to go all the way back to his main and then all the way back towards the mid-left base. If he gets, I'm talking about the 3rd base, by the way. If he gets recalled at the 4th base, yes, everything's right there. But if he gets recalled at one of the inner expansions, I am worried that it's going to take him too long to get into position because he's out here in the center of the map trying to defend his 4th base. But we do have free on the move. Terran is still up 20 supply. This is crazy. Terran's maxed. Protoss does have +1 weapon. I think Terran should have +2 by now. If not, it's going to be very soon. EMP, there's no stasis on that Arbiter, by the way. Those 2 Arbiters over there are the ones with all the energy. Yeah, they've got almost 4 stasises combined available. Hey, there's not a lot of turrets here. All right, mine's just gonna go. Oh no! Oh no! Look at how the units are positioned. They're all clumped up. Get out of there! Well, that EMP hit some stuff, but it wasn't exactly the greatest. So 100 energy, I would say, down the drain for Terran. Protoss still has not used any of his energy, so he still has all those stasises available. He should have 5 now. And is that really all the tanks? That can't be all the tanks. There's no way you're pushing with just 9 tanks. Pretty good movement with the vessels, by the way. Stasis. There goes one of them. Okay, that's another wasted EMP. That Arbiter no longer had energy. Okay, so he still has 4 stasises available and no EMPs left for Terran. Protoss can definitely win this fight. Okay, that vessel gets taken out. Where's the angle? Everything's all the way across the map for Terran, man. There's no mines, though. No, don't know. He lost that Arbiter. Okay, okay, those Arbiters over there still have energy. Here we go. Protoss moving in. Where the stasis is. Focus fire on. Oh, he loses another Arbiter. What? He's not stasising. He has energy. Okay, he stasis those back tanks. Okay, that was a good stasis in the back. And, you know, good Zealot follow-up right there. He's going to lose a lot of the tanks, but free supply is plummeted. The top side of the units just massacre everything. And that terrain blob right there where the units just get split up, oh my gosh, free, that was not the trade. And he just taps out. That is unfortunate for free. I think he had the stasis energy that he needed. He had 5 stasises available, but he just couldn't find the units that he wanted to stasis. Man, that is unfortunate. I also think that getting the third base so late really hindered his econ. Like, yes, he was technically at max, right? But, you know, Terran's trade in general more effective. So as Protoss, you've got to have bigger econ to fall back on. So for him to not have a third base quickly, he didn't have any econ to fall back on. He was like heavily reliant that these stasises were going to change the tides of the fight, but he could just never find the right tanks to stasis. So unfortunately, free is going to be eliminated. Mine's build order was on point. You know, in theory, I really do like the DT opener because it makes sense, right? Like what I was saying, with the full wall, you're never going mines there, because if you go mines and the opposing player goes goons, you're dead. Like, you're not going to have anything. So the DT initial opener was great, but I still don't understand why attack with 1 DT. A depot has so much health and it can be repaired. If there's two DTs, I can see it get bursted down. We're getting a look at the final fight here. As you can see, it's max versus max. Free technically has a decent bank at 2k, 1k. His probe count is really low also, so his army size is huge. But watch this engagement. Watch how half of his army goes to the top side. The other half, the Zealots in particular, go to the bottom side. And yes, the Zealots get a lot of tank kills, but because almost the entire army at the top side is goons, they just get crushed. Now, of course, this right here is not good. He loses the arbor that was going for the stasis, and now he's like, okay, what do I stasis? I'm trying to find what the correct tank is to hit with it. And he hits 2, which is good, and you can see he hits some tanks at the top, but the army split and cannot get on top of those tanks. So unfortunately, not the day for free. But that does set us up for at least a different matchup now. We're going to go into TVT. There's going to be a rematch of ASL Finals Season 15, JYJ versus Mind, and we'll be back in a few minutes. we're finally here. The final game of the day, the final game of the round of 24. A TVT. JYJ versus Mind. And they both do not want to play Monty Hall. That means we're going to get Radion as our map, as standard as it can possibly get. So back-to-back days, we're getting Radion as our final game of the day. That's always nice. You obviously know that these players have practiced this map in particular quite a lot, especially since it was in ASL last season. As I was mentioning, JYJ got the best of Mind a few seasons ago. Hopefully Mind has leveled up here and can get some redemption, whether win or lose, at least get some redemption and get some close games. But JYJ, he's just so strong, especially in TVT. And I remember in the graphic at the beginning of today's cast where we were looking at the overall stats for the players in each matchup, Mind's TVT was his weakest by far. If I remember, it said something like 33% win rate. And I think TVT for JYJ, I don't think it was his best matchup, but it was definitely up there. So we are just waiting for players to be ready, and then we'll be getting into it, and there we go. This is it. Final game of the day. One of the Terrans is going to make it out. Is it going to be JYJ, or will it be Mind? And here we go. In the bottom left, we do have Mind. Meanwhile, in the bottom right, we do have JYJ. So horizontal spawns. It's going to be imperative that both players claim control over the center. You do not want to let someone get bottom middle, for example. That could be game changing if the map ever splits and someone has a middle base and you don't. You're going to be in big time trouble. Now I'm trying to think back to build orders that we saw in the ASL finals. For whatever reason, I think we saw a lot of Vulture play from Mind. Now I know JYJ does a lot of different builds. He does a lot of Tank Goliath builds. He can do Vultures, of course. He can do Race. But when I watch him, one of the things that just stands out to me is how he optimizes his Tank Goliath. Like, you try and replicate it, and he just has so much stuff. It's like, dude, how? How do you have this many tanks and Goliaths? I'm missing like 2 or 3 units compared to you. It's just so impressive how well he can macro that particular build. Now, Mind, he is going to go for forward racks, I think. Okay, over on the left side. So an interesting racks placement. It is technically forward, but not that much forward compared to having having built it at the corner of your base, for example. I thought it was going to be more towards the mid right. We do have JYJ and Mind both going for the 12 gas opener, and that right side mineral boosting a little more effective than the left side, which is why you see Mind's gas like 1 to 2 seconds slower. Also got to factor in the forward racks, which JYJ has not done. 14 scout for JYJ. Everything so far looks very normal to me. Mind, on the other hand, no scout just yet. I have a feeling he might not scout until the barracks is done. Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? He's already got the SCV out in the map. Why would you send another one out? So, okay, just a brain fart for me there. And we are going to have Mind go top left. Not going to find JYJ there. And JYJ is going to hook back to top right. And of course, not find Mind there. Both players are pulled off of gas, as expected. In fact, they have... Oh, I thought they completely pulled off the gas, but nope, they still got one on there. How many Marines does Mind want to build? Generally, when you go for a forward racks like this, you at least build 2. There's really no benefit to building just 1 and then floating your racks. It's like, well, what are you getting out of this? But the standard these days is just 2 in general. Ooh. Okay. Mine's Marine is already there, but JYJ, despite seeing the Marine there, he's like, yeah, I know you only built 2, so I'm just going to lift my racks off of 2, and he's not going to be punished. JYJ with the Vulture already coming out. Mind also getting his Vulture queued up. Both SCVs have been denied, so neither player has any intel. I don't think either player is thinking that this guy is one-basing, but, you know, if you're playing somebody like Shiny, for example, Shiny does do one-base plays like Port Wraith, or you know, not Port Wraith, Factory Port, but I don't think I remember seeing any one-base plays from JYJ. Now, the real question is how many Vultures is both players going to build? I think there's just one for Mind. There's a second Vulture coming for JYJ. Mind got off the first shot, so he should be able to take this down. Got to retreat to the Marines. He does save it. Where's the second Vulture? Okay. I guess it's I know that there's no second Vulture. JYJ doesn't know there's no second Vulture, so he does not send the second one and instead just falls back. Okay, a third Vulture before the add-on. Now, Mind, to be honest, has a really good build. If he somehow knew that this guy doesn't have an add-on and he just pushes with the first tank, it's really hard to stop when you don't have any powerful units as JYJ. Okay, that is a third factory. I was like, wait a minute. That's positioned in a way that might be a starport, but nope, that's just 3 factories, no add-on at all. The barracks still doesn't know that there's no add-on. Now he's going to see that there's no add-on. And we've got a tank on the move. This could do considerable damage. He sees that the add-on's still building, so he knows that this guy built a ton of Vultures. Gonna wait for 2 tanks? Is that the play? Oh, the tank avoided the Vultures, but that means that the Vultures can now go for a counter. And the Marines, or the barracks, sees that, hey, you're out of position, and Mind's units, they're still out in the center of the map. He may lose so many SCVs here. He's got enough to one-shot him. But he didn't really kill that many. Only lost 1 so far. The tank is coming back. But this is obviously a lot of lost mining time. But I thought it was going to be more damage than this. Okay, there's a third SCV. No way. Does he get out with all the... Okay, he's going to lose most of the Vultures. Now they're going to get intercepted. Now he gets rid of them. Okay, so what does Mind have left? He has 1 tank, 3 Vultures. A couple of them are pretty damaged. Meanwhile, JYJ, because he rushed his 3 factories so quickly, he still has a lot of stuff. So even though he lost the 4 Vultures, I think he's still safe. Mind obviously lost a lot of mining with that pull. I'm trying to see, does anybody have like a starport? That is a third building for Mind at the corner of his base. Is that a starport? I mean, it's... I think it's another factory. I feel like if he was going to go for starport, he probably would have put it where that SCV is right there. So I think it's going to be 3 fact versus 3 fact. Both players just going to, you know, play a bit passive here as they build up their army, get their infrastructure set up. Neither player has gas, so they're really heavily relying on the Vultures doing a lot of damage. Scan goes off, going to clear out these mines. JYJ has a lot, man. This is what I was talking about. How does he just always have so much stuff all the time? What is that, 11 Vultures versus 8? Something like that? Yeah, it's literally 11 versus 8. He also has an additional tank. He's up 10 supply. He, I don't think, has mines, but instead prioritized getting speed so he can get more units over here ASAP. But maybe he's gotten siege mode instead, and he still has his barracks floating, so he can, you know, siege up onto this rally point if he wants. Mine slowly closing the supply gap, but I feel like somebody needs to get siege. Whether it's Mind or JYJ, Mind desperately needs to have siege so that he can defend this. I don't think he can win this battle. I think there's too many Vultures. Well, he's going to go for it. I don't know about this. It just seems like JYJ has an overwhelming amount of vultures. Tanks are in the front, they're taking damage. Yeah, it's so many vultures. This is the JYJ optimization. He's going to steamroll this army. And once again, TVT, JYJ, he's just a master at it. And now what do? Your army's split. I didn't even really see that many vultures survive or die. He's got siege mode now, but it's way too late. The SCVs are getting ransacked. It's almost a 30 supply lead. Tank at the top is going to die to just mass vultures. He's going to even save this tank. And this is just masterclass. Now JYJ sets up all the mines. Now that he's cleared out basically the entire army, and Mind is in a dreadful position. It's 4-fact versus 4-fact, but down tanks, down workers, down vultures. He never built a Goliath or Marine to clear out the barracks, so the barracks still has free vision over everything. And JYJ, of course, sitting at the rally point or close to the rally point. It's going to be near impossible for Mind to ever get outside of his base. Maybe he can, get the third, but can he ever get a fourth? I don't know. And I do see in JYJ's main at bottom right, that must be a starport. So he's going to be going race behind this with the overwhelming ground army. So now Mind's going to have to build Goliaths, which, aren't really going to help you bust out of a contain. This is just a terrible position for Mind. JYJ also got his SCV set up for the 3rd command center. There it goes. Mind's going to expand himself also, but he is just such a massive deficit. Now, right now, Mind does have tank advantage, but he needs to make use of this tank advantage. He needs to clear out those 2 tanks in the center, clear out the mines somehow. If he allows JYJ to get 4 or 5 tanks here, I don't know if he's ever going to get out. Looks like there's, I guess, a lack of defense on the left side. So maybe if Mind can secure at least this position, he can slowly expand to top left. It's a lot of vultures, but is it enough to take down... Okay, it is enough to take down these vultures and tanks. So vultures alone just barreling through. There goes the tank. This 3rd command center is going to be denied. I guess he sort of denies that 3rd base. He might kill this command center, man. He gets a cancel. Now what do? I think there is. Yeah, I think there was a starport with the add-on right there. I think you've just got to go drops at this point. Is there anything else you can do? I don't think you can go Wraith. You're... Look at the gas. It's even gas. So let's say you go Wraith, right? I haven't seen a single Wraith for JYJ yet. So let's say you go Wraith. You're going to technically be able to have the same amount of race if JYJ stays on 2 gas, but he's not because he has the 3rd gas himself. So you're never going to be up in race, which means you're never going to win a fight. So your only option is to go drops. But JYJ knows your only option is to go drops. So he's probably just going to have race everywhere to make sure that drops don't get in, whether it's at bottom middle or drops don't get around the left side to get a top left base. Looks like Mind does find an opening here on the left side. So, okay, at least he's going to secure this area. JYJ, why does JYJ have 2 tanks up here? I don't know, but he gets another tank for free. And he's going to get that tank? No way! Wow, 2 tanks for none. 3rd base up and running. 3rd gas also. Another scan. No! Oh, I thought that tank was going to get baited into that tank. These tanks are... If he just jumps on those tanks, he probably would have killed it. Another denial on the 3rd base. Oh, it hurts. Oh, he got a connection. Another tank dies. Yep, there goes a single drop. It's 1 drop ship, though. Yeah, and the Wraiths are just waiting. That's what I said. They're just going to be sitting here at the bottom side. Okay, luckily there's 1 Goliath in here, so it can, potentially kill a Wraith, but tanks are already here. This got owned, man. Just completely owned. And both race survived. Wow, he actually went double port raid. I did not expect that. And look at that, JYJ's going double port raid. What? All right. Fourth base going to be started for JYJ in just a second. JYJ, even though I didn't see a science facility, he of course has the gas to build the science facility, whereas mine, I think he's going to be obligated to just stay on +1. If he builds the science facility plus gets the +2 weapon, you know, that's comparable to 3 tanks, and at this point, he needs as much stuff as possible. He needs to get a blow up on 2 of these tanks. Goes 1 maybe. Okay, there we go. Well, mine's trying to make a game out of this. He's just somehow secured this particular spot that will allow him at least the opportunity to try and take this 4th base. The real problem are these raids. Another tank is going to die, I think. Yep, there goes that one. Uh-oh, but did JYJ overstep? I don't think he knows that mine has gone mass wraith also. Yeah, there's even a Valkyrie here. He's losing a lot, though. Oh, scan. Scan. I think he's waiting for one more race so that he can blow these all up. He needs an overwhelming victory. Here we go. Scan goes off. Valkyrie does a lot of damage. The micro? Okay, that was not a bad trade for both sides. Like, you cleared out 5 out of the race. 5 out of the 6 race. But JYJ also killed a decent amount of race, too. Ooh. Bunch of... Oh, good focus fire right there. Big mine hit. Big mine hit. So many tanks lost. Oh, and there's the science facility in the center of the map. So yeah, JYJ does have +2 coming. Still non-stop race for him. And 4th command center is done. So he's going to get that gas up and running. Mine still does have control over the left side, so he will be able to get this 4th base probably pretty soon. But it is still such a stranglehold that JYJ has over the center. I think JYJ should definitely consider taking bottom middle. 1, you don't want mine to have some miracle comeback and then get that base. And 2, getting the middle, of course, you're going to leave race there to intercept drops anyways. So you might as well take that base, in my opinion. We do have Terran, or well, JYJ's Terran approaching max. I imagine +2 weapons should be done pretty soon. He's unsieging everything. Okay, he's realized that this guy has way too little defense. Well, maybe not. I thought he was going to try and bust the natural. There are only 5 tanks there. But instead, I guess he's got his eyes set on top left. Yep, +2 is done versus just +1. So massive power spike for JYJ. He can really abuse this. Oh, wow. He's just going to A-move. A-move time, boys. No siege. Mine's going to trade as effective as he possibly can, but it's just an overwhelming amount of units. And now that JYJ has busted this, he can swoop in over here and say, no, sir. No 4th base for you. There's the race. I was wondering where the race were. He's got a lot of Valkyries too. So he's really going to try and overwhelmingly win the air battle. And there's the GG. JYJ has done it. Takes down Mind once again. And he's going to secure the last spot for the round of 16. I think mine did have a good build with his instant add-on, but he wasn't able to capitalize with the early game tanks versus the 4 Vulture no add-on opener from JYJ. I really thought that JYJ was going to be in trouble, but his use of the barracks was really good. He saw the tank move out and immediately counters, and just forcing a pull like that and also having your faster third factories allowed him to, you know, despite losing all those vultures, never be behind in that game. There was no threat of a counterattack. It was a really perfectly executed build. When this Rax came in here and saw that this guy has no add-on and he saw 4 vultures, I thought for sure, okay, this is the moment. This is the time for mine to go in. But it wasn't. He also didn't get to see that 3rd factory at the bottom. So he may have thought that uh he may have thought he could send like this first tank right here. Like, oh, this guy only has 2 factories. I can just send and we'll be okay. But actually, hello, there was 3 factories. And of course, these vultures were waiting for this moment. The Rax, like I said, gave him entire vision. And now he comes in here, even though he doesn't get a lot of SCV kills, he forces a lot of lost mining time. And you can see that JYJ needed to make this move because look at the worker count. It was 30 to 26. JYJ cut quite a lot for this. So if he doesn't make this move, he's in big time trouble. Mind even has the mine upgrade. Like if he could have just gotten across the map and laced some mines with the tank behind it to support, he would have been in a good position, but it just never came to fruition, and that means JYJ just kind of ran away with it. His attacks were fantastic. The optimizations, as usual, were fantastic. You saw the follow-up attack with the vultures versus the tanks. What was it? 11 vultures, 2 tanks versus 2 tanks, and 8 vultures. He just always manages to have more stuff than you. Of course, he was cutting more, but it's just phenomenal how he can manage his macro like that. So I'm sure he's ecstatic about making it into the round of 16. So that does give us our final 16. We've got 8 Terrans, 5 Protoss, 3 Zergs. And as expected, you can see JYJ is quite happy about that win. And I'm happy that these solo casts, a lot of the games were just pretty quick. That was, I think, the longest game that we've had in the past 2 days. What was it? Maybe near 20 minutes, but not quite. Something like that. Load up Team Liquid again, see if there's any thoughts on the final game before we close out the stream today. I mean, the comments are pretty much just like I said. JYJ is just way too good at TVT. I don't really know what mine needs to change. Maybe he needs to cut more like JYJ so he can match the macro. But TVT is hard in that sense because if you cut and you don't get damage done versus a player that's gone for, like a high SCV count build, you're just going to fall farther and farther behind. So, like, in that sense, it's hard to balance. And also, it's hard to gauge when to build tanks. Like, yes, you want to have a lot of tanks, but if you build them too early, like you saw, the vultures just run in and they kill everything. If you build too many vultures and you build your tanks too late, then you get contained, right? Like it's really hard in my experience to gauge the right time to build the vultures and the tanks, but JYJ obviously has it down to a science. I liked his race switch also. He knew the position he was in. He knew that he just needs to win the air battle afterwards, and it's just his game to take. So it's just full understanding of TVT, and he's looking as strong as he did in the ASL run he had in season 15. Like, yes, I realize he didn't make his attack work versus, was it Stork? But his macro that game was still really strong. Lots of JYJ fans, man. I think they restarted the universities, I guess, because I see a lot more players repping that like JSA tag, JSU tag. But because I don't, really speak Korean, I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that. If it's a new university or a new pro league or what that is, but clearly lots of fans in the audiences for the players these days. We're getting a rundown of how today went. JYJ kind of blasted through free. Same thing with Stork versus Mind. And then we had Stork with good management in the JYJ game. And of course, JYJ ending up getting through. As I stated, it's 3, 5, and 8 for Zerg, Protoss, and Terran. And we're just going to have, I think, a week break where we're going to get the group nomination on the 9th, as you can see. So that's going to be interesting. I'm theorizing how the groups could go. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of Terran, right? But where do you want to put the Terrans? Obviously, Snow wants the Terrans in his group because he's just going to bash on them. But do you want to stack them up all in Sharp's group where they're just going to eliminate each other? If you do that, then you don't really get... if you do that, then you have potentially, having like ZVZ. You have potentially, like Bisu versus Jaedong, where Bisu is like a master in PvZ, so is kind of Mini, right? And if you eliminate Jaedong, then you don't really have that many Zergs left. So I don't know what I'm really hoping here for. I think obviously the best groups for certain players is like JYJ. He wants to get a TVT or TVP group. Well, actually, it doesn't really matter. I mean, he's good at all of them. But C clearly wants to be put in as their group. He clearly wants to be put in Jaedong's group because his TVZ looked really good with the mech. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting group draw. And we are done today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, I'm going to shout out the StarCast Patreon once again before we go off air. If you guys do like the cast, you do like the StarCastTV Star League, which we also run on the YouTube channel, definitely consider becoming a Patreon supporter. Those funds go towards creating more tournaments like the StarCastTV Star League, like the Revenge Battles, like I think we had the International tournament also, where players like DeWalt, JD Conan, Terror, they got the opportunity to play versus the top tier pros. So definitely become or consider becoming a Patreon supporter, or just slam that follow button on YouTube. We appreciate the follows and the support that way. And I'm just going to close the stream here because, I am solo casting, and I'm sure we're going to be here for a few minutes as the stream closes out. So once again, thank you so much for watching. We're going to have a week break, and then after that, we'll be back with Group A, I think, which is going to be Solkey's group, and I look forward to seeing you there.